I'm Shelia Smoot with the Shelia Smoot Show. Have you ever thought about why your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system is making all that noise, doing these crazy things, and what about that filter? Well, we have an expert that's going to talk to us about your HVAC system and why you should continue to have regular maintenance. I'm Shelia Smoot. The Shelia Smoot Show starts right now. I'm Shelia Smoot. Welcome into the Shelia Smoot Show. And I know a lot of you always think about when you have a home or you have a condo, because I know some of you condo townhouse owners are thinking, oh, we're safe. No, you're not if you have an HVAC system. Yes, HVAC, the heating, air, cooling system. And we have an expert today to talk to you about getting it serviced, about why you need to do that, and what it means to own a home or a condo or business that needs HVAC services, HVAC repair. We're going to bring to you at this time Braden Bombi, and Braden is with Irwin HVAC Services, and he is the lead service technician. How you doing this morning, Braden? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, doing great, great, great. You know, I always say it's that time of year to get your HVAC service, get it a healthy checkup. It's like going to the doctor, right? Getting your checkup and all of that. But for me, I think it should be all year. Now that I've owned a home for several years and owned more than one home and was in a condo where the HVAC system went down, I was stunned. And also, when I was a renter, not knowing that I needed to change out the filter, lots goes into your HVAC. It's kind of like taking care of your body, right? It's part, yeah, it's part of it, right? First of all, thank you for joining us, Brent. Tell us, first of all, HVAC. You know, I always get mixed up about what the V stands for. So, HVAC, what does HVAC stand for?
So, HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and HVACR, which our company, we do refrigeration as well, so the R stands for refrigeration. So, that's kind of what that HVAC stands for.
Well, yeah, everybody wants to shorten your name these days. So HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, of course, refrigeration. That's, I knew it had ventilation in it. I just, wondering about it. So, Brayden, talk to us about the system. These systems are big. And for those of you who have a two-story home, some of you have even separate units. Why is it important for us to keep an eye on our HVAC system?
Well, so our company actually offers a service contract, and a lot of times when people hear contract, they get a little nervous. There is no, you're not locked in for anything. Mm-hmm. It is typically a one-time, through our company, it's a one-time fee. We come out twice a year, and we recommend once in the spring and once in the fall. The reason we recommend that is because, obviously before your heating season and before your air conditioning season, certain people have heat pumps. Heat pumps typically run year round, and then, if you have a straight air conditioner and a gas furnace, it's definitely good to get those checked out, get your refrigerant levels checked out, your drains clean, your coils clean, your filters changed, and all the way up into your commercial side of things where you're changing belts, and so on and so forth, greasing motors, stuff like that. So that, we highly recommend getting your air conditioner and your heater serviced. That's the longevity of your system. It's just like your car, getting your oil changed,
right?
Your tires rotated. If you don't rotate your tires on a front wheel drive car, your front tires are going to wear out a lot quicker than your back. Mm-hmm. And that's just an example I like to use. if you don't clean your coils and your coils get stopped up, even down to as far as your condenser fan motor having to work through a stopped up coil. I mean, it's just, I could go on and on about the different things and reasons why you need to get that done.
Well, I want to ask you that. Speaking of the parts of the system, there are a lot of moving parts to the system. I'm only thinking I got to change my filter. So let's start with changing your filter. And let's go into those coils. What does that mean? So the filter. I mean, a lot of people, I hate to say it, I have to look up and I'm like, oh my God, my filter has dust. Why is it? How often should we be changing that filter? And why are we changing this filter? That's the bare minimum that a homeowner or somebody in an apartment complex or anywhere could do, right?
Yes, ma'am. So that's a great question. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you buy a filter and they say this is a 30-day filter or this is a 90-day filter, and it may cost you triple the amount because it's a 90-day filter, I like to tell people, don't set a reminder to change your filter, but set a reminder to check your filter. Because just because you've had that filter in there for 30 days, obviously certain times of the year, especially in Alabama, where the temperatures can fluctuate and vary day to day and even morning to evening, your system runtime may not be as long in certain times of the year. So just because you had that filter in there 30 days, if it's brand new looking or it's clean, you can see daylight through it clearly, obviously I wouldn't recommend changing that filter. So I like to tell people to set a reminder to check your filter, not set a reminder to change your filter. Obviously, you want to change that filter if it is dirty. The reason that you have a filter, your filter is in your return is in line on your return duct, and that is to prevent dust and debris from going into your evaporator coil. If you have no filter, that dust and debris goes straight to your evaporator coil, which can cause a lot more issues. So that's kind of my personal opinion on that.
For those people who say, well, I never had a filter. I remember one time when I was a renter way back years ago, a very young person with their first apartment. Of course, I didn't know I had to change the filter. Well, come to find out when my dad said, hey, did you change the filter? Because he was looking up. I said, what filter? He said, there's a filter. This is a beginner on my own in my apartment. I think I got it going on and all that, Braden. But guess what? So my dad checks, and there is no filter. Then he said, now, how long you been living here? 6 months. So tell me what that did to my system without having a filter. We immediately go get a filter, and of course, I've been on edge about filters all my life.
Right, yes, ma'am. So that right there is another reason that it is good to have a preventative maintenance setup through a company or, like I said, like us, we come out twice a year on our service contract. And not only are we coming out to check your refrigerant levels, check your drains, check your coils, and cleaning all of those things, we are looking for things like that. If you send one of our technicians out to do preventative maintenance and we notice that there's no filter in your filter grill, that's obviously a red flag to us, and we're going to make you aware that that is a problem and all of those things. So another reason that it is good to have be set up on a maintenance contract like that.
Right. So if you're looking up right now, folks, and you're looking at this and you have all that dust on your filter, and you can't see it. It's on the outside of the ridges of the system, I call it, when you look up and you have that grate over it and it's dirty. That's a sign that that filter is bad. So Brayden, tell me again about these coils. A lot of these people have two systems. For those of you who own a two-level home, there's a system up and a system down. They coexist, but they are still separate systems, right?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay.
So a lot of times you will have a main level unit and you'll have an upstairs unit, or a main level unit and a downstairs unit. So like I said, it's very important. Obviously, you want to get both of them cleaned twice a year, and it's also good to make sure that you're maintaining around your air conditioner. notice that need to be taken care of.
Okay. And that's a good point you just made. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want my system ruining the aesthetics and the look of my nice home or my home." So they put flowers around the system, or like you said, the hedges. And I see that growth and it's overgrowth because, yeah, it hides your system, but you're telling me something different. It could damage the system. Yes or no?
Longevity of the system. The longevity of the system, yes, ma'am. And like I said, we recommend that twice a year. If you have certain types of bushes and hedges and, grass obviously growing up around it, that can make it to where you need to get that preventative maintenance done more often or more frequently, just due to the conditions that your system is in. Does that make sense?
It does. It definitely does, because I wonder about, it'd be better to probably put like the kind of small fence around your system if you don't want it to have, but people like decoration. It looks good, but for the system itself, you're saying it could be a problem. So keep those weeds and the grass and those bushes away, even if you do plant around it, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And a lot of the, depending on the brand of system and, so on and so forth, they typically recommend at least 14 inches of clearance around each side of your system. So that's just kind of a rough, obviously, like I said, that is kind of brand specific. But they do typically recommend at least 14 inches of clearance all the way around your system. So
that's a good point. I appreciate you saying that. What about critters like ants? Have you encountered anything when it comes to critters going into the system? Ants or things like that?
That is a great question as well. Yes, ma'am. Typically during the summertime, we do see a lot of ants, and it sounds crazy, but there is a part in an air conditioner called a contactor. And basically that contactor, once it is energized, it's magnetized and pulls in, and for some reason, I don't know if it's the heat of the coil right there, but those ants get attracted to that to that contactor. And I've seen it several times where ants will get inside the contactor and those contacts can't make up. And so you end up having to change that contactor out due to that. And so that is very important as well. Obviously, mice can cause problems with your wires and so on and so forth. But, I would say ants and mice are probably the two main things that we see.
Right. Have you ever experienced anything with water? I know there's like some kind of pan that captures certain liquid, moisture, and it could overflow. Have you encountered anything like that, particularly in upstairs systems?
Yes, ma'am, there is. There is a primary drain pan inside the unit, and typically, especially if we install a unit, you will have an auxiliary drain pan that has a float switch in it. That way, it's kind of a backup to a backup. If you have your primary drain gets stopped up, that secondary drain pan or auxiliary drain pan will catch that water, and there's a float switch in there to where if that float raises up, it turns the unit off, and that's just a preventative switch on that right there. So, but that's another good example right there. We come out and do a preventative maintenance.
Right.
We're going to be cleaning those drains and preventing, like you said, the secondary drain pan or primary drain pan clogging up and secondary getting full. So.
I'm Shelia Smoot with your Consumer Tip of the Week. Looking for your tax refund? You can find it. Go to Where's My Refund? You can get information on your tax returns for the last 3 years. Now, there is also a phone app called IRS To Go. IRS To Go. It takes about 24 hours for the information to be online once you file as well. Now, it takes up to 4 weeks to get your IRS status if you file a paper return. Now, you can get all of this all through the year if you want to just find out what's going on with any refund now or in the past. And for more information, all you have to do is go to irs.gov. That's irs.gov. Live debt free. Here are 4 steps to keep you in control. Number 1, prepare for the worst case scenario. Come up with a plan to live on less. You never know when you might lose your job or end up with unexpected bills. Number 2, keep an emergency fund. You need at least 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund. You can do that. Start saving now. Step number 3, lower your credit card rates now. First, ask your credit card company for a better deal, which can work if you have a good credit record. And step number 4, to keep you in control, pay off your mortgage before retiring. Most people aren't in a rush to pay off their mortgage if they have a low fixed rate and can earn more by investing elsewhere. But if you plan to retire soon, repaying that debt can give you a lot more flexibility, especially if your investments are down and your other expenses have increased, which is happening to many retirees this year. I'm Shelia Smoot with your Consumer Tip of the Week.
Let me talk about those coils and also the coolant, the refrigerant, or whatever what was that called, whatever it was called back in the day. Are they still using that with these older homes? How are you maintaining the older homes? Because the refrigerant for the cooling has changed to some degree.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. It's amazing how frequently it is changing. But we maintain an older system the exact same way that we maintain a newer system, depending on the types of coils and things that you have. But there is they did the R22, I believe is what you're referring to.
Right, I'm referring to the R22.
They have somewhat phased that out.
Right.
There is several replacement refrigerants that you can use for that. A lot of people will try to sell you a system if you have R22 in your unit's own refrigerant. And it is, it does cost more. The replacement refrigerants do cost a little more than the newer refrigerant, and that's like anything. They're trying to phase it out. How they do that is partially by raising the cost.
Right.
So
I do want to go into the fact that when you have a system that is aging out, there's a time, and I love the maintenance that you're talking about, because you can tend to probably catch when that system is kind of losing its steam and having to be replaced. What is the process that you tell your clients about, hey, you know what, we can't fix it, it's time to replace? What is that conversation like when we are talking about the system is old and it actually does need to be replaced? Speaking of that, how long can a system, or should a system, last you?
Well, there's a lot of variables in that.
Uh-huh.
I like to tell people, are you on a maintenance contract? Is this thing preventatively maintained like it should be? If it's not, you can't expect the same lifespan out of the system. And a lot of companies install different brands and things, which we do. We can and will install several brands, but we are an American Standard dealer, and we highly recommend that. And there's a reason that we're an American Standard dealer. We have been installing American Standard equipment for years, and we have installed other brands of equipment. And like I said, due to the amount of callbacks we've had and things like that, that is why we install American Standard equipment. We see significantly less warranty work done on these systems, things like that. But when it comes to when is it time to change your system? So a lot of people say, like I think you said a second ago, your system can't be repaired. Well, a lot of times it can be repaired.
Oh.
The thing is it worth me spending so much money. Is it worth me spending $3,000 into my old R22 system versus me spending 8 or 10 to get a new system? And I'm just throwing random numbers out.
Right.
You can't really go off that.
Right.
But you have to look at it in that aspect. Like it is, I have a 22-year-old system. Is it worth me spending $3,000 on a compressor and filling that system back up with refrigerant just for me to have old condenser fan motor, old evaporator fan motor, old evaporator pool, all the things. So a lot of times we like to compare costs. We like to tell the customer, we can repair it for this, but that could also go towards a new system. And I take pride in our company not being salesmen. We are not salesmen. We are technicians. We make repairs and things like that. So we don't go out and try to sell people's systems all day long. I would talk to you as a customer just like I would talk to my mother about her own air conditioner, and I take pride in that.
Well, great. And I appreciate you treating me like your mother because I know you treat your mother well. So, Brayden, last question as we wrap up our segment today. What is the average cost of a new system these days?
Well, that's another great question. And I don't, without getting into prices too.
Right. Just in general.
There's so many variables.
Right.
In that, the SEER ratings. SEER stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Rating, and that's basically, in the grand scheme of things, that's going to affect your power bill and stuff like that.
Really?
To your variable speed compressors, variable speed fan motors, and stuff like that. So typically, a normal system, I would say, just a rough estimate, I would say somewhere between $8,000 to $12,000. Which is pretty expensive, which is another reason that it's good to do that preventative maintenance. Obviously, an air conditioning system in your home, if you for some reason look to sell your home and you can provide all of those seasons that you've had preventative maintenance done, that is just going to show someone buying your house that, hey, they took care of this house.
Yeah.
If I was buying a house and someone had records of all that, to me that stands out.
Right.
So.
Brayden, very good information, extremely good information on the maintenance and why it's very important for you and for all of us to maintain our HVAC system. Brayden, if we want to get on that maintenance plan, give me an opportunity you've got the opportunity to tell us, how do we get in touch with you all at the Irwin HVAC Services?
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. So we have our home office telephone number is 205-702-6103. We also have a website that you can go on there, look at some of our installs. You can set up a maintenance contract. You can set up a service call. And our website is irwinhvacservices.com. And that Irwin is spelled IRWIN. So there's several ways you can reach us. Our home office is based in Moody, Alabama, but we do service the whole Birmingham metro area, and largely commercial. We can cover the whole state of Alabama. So anybody that is needing anything done or would like to get a service contract, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to come out and give your home air conditioning system an evaluation, let you know what we see and get it cleaned up and back up to our standards.
Last question, how much does one of those packages run? Is it affordable?
It is very affordable, yes, ma'am. For what you get, it is very affordable. It really depends on the type of system that you have, how many systems you have in your home. Does it include us changing your filter? Because we have several customers that like for us to come in so frequently that we change their filters.
Wow, that's great.
I would recommend that you give our office a call, and we can discuss the pricing that way.
Here's a few tips about understanding your HVAC system. Read your owner's manual. I know a lot of you don't do that, but you should. Refer to your HVAC system's manual for specific maintenance instructions and some troubleshooting tips. Also, don't close your vents off totally. Don't close your vents off. Closing vents can disrupt airflow and make your HVAC system work harder, so try to keep those open. And also, don't forget, if you just don't know how to do it and you just don't want to keep getting up on that ladder and changing that filter, or you're just not sure, or you just don't have time, you can always call the Irwin HVAC services, and they can do that regular maintenance for you. I'm Shelia Smoot. That's my consumer tip of the week. All right, okay. Guys, we've been talking to Braden Fomby with Irwin HVAC Services. He's the lead service technician, giving you a lot of great information. Catch them at 205-702-6103, or just go to their website at Irwin, spelled with an I-R-W-I-N, IrwinHVACServices.com. Braden, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell all my friends that they need to get their HVAC system checked. It's like, like anything you do, you had the greatest analogy. It's like checking the oil and changing it in your car, because your HVAC system, it is the life of your home. Braden, thank you so very much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. You guys give us a call if you need any air conditioning or heating needs.
All right. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye. That was Braden Fomby with some great tips. Guys, go out. Get your HVAC service. I'm here to tell you, I've had the service where they do the spring and the summer and the winter service. It is not expensive. It does one thing. It gives you the opportunity to keep an eye on your system, which means, again, don't blame the power company, okay? Blame your system. Don't blame the power company if your bill is high. All right, you might want to check out your HVAC system. I'm Shelia Smoot. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, don't be a sucker, be a consumer. I'm Shelia Smoot with the Shelia Smoot Show. We'll see you next time.